Hello, and welcome back to Entrepreneur Money Stories. Today, we have Becky Clabaugh on the podcast. You guys are going to love Becky. Becky is not only a certified life coach, but she's a financial behavior change expert and a business mentor for professional women who are really ready to understand their outdated stories about money, worthiness, and visibility. I love the way that Becky has taken this science-based approach to understand our stories about money and the action steps that we can be taking as business owners to overcome our money mindset and ultimately really embrace our role as a business owner. It is our responsibility, whether you're an accidental entrepreneur or you're really owning your role as CEO, it is your responsibility to know your numbers. However, I am not going to diminish how difficult money can be for people, how difficult it is to finally take a look at your numbers and have an honest conversation about what they mean to you. So we've welcomed Becky to the show. You know, I have really found a passion for money mindset and everything that that means to our ability to step into our power as business owners, to really actually use the numbers to manage our business. But I don't know all the science side, right? I don't know. I am an accountant through and through. So I have brought Becky on to bring in the other side of this to help us understand some of the why. One of our core values here at Kickstart Accounting Inc. is to always lead with why. And Becky is here to tell us why and give us clear action steps to navigate our money mindset. All right, here's my conversation with Becky. Becky, welcome to Entrepreneur Money Stories.
Oh, Danielle, it's so good to see you. Thanks for having me.
I am really looking forward to this conversation. When you and I connected recently, we're just jamming out about not just the way as business owners, you know, that it's okay that we have been avoiding this topic of money, but that there's a clear kind of reason for it. And as you were talking, I'm like, we have got to make sure that we give this information to the listeners so that they can better understand like the why. Like one of our core values is always start with why. And so I think that this is a really good explanation of why are we here? And then what the heck do we do to get out of this? Because as business owners, we literally actually have a fiscal responsibility to move towards understanding this information. Let's start with that. As business owners, why are we here? Why are we here in this like emotional fight or flight around money?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's such a good question because I personally believe that being an entrepreneur is a calling. You know, it's really courageous to be doing what we're doing. And we are experts in the area that brought us to the sharing what we have to share and becoming the authority in our industry. But what happens is our nervous systems gets lit. And then a lot of times our nervous system is always lit because we're subconsciously running a fight or flight stress response. And then when we look at a P&L statement or your accountant or your bookkeeper says, okay, let's bring up your spreadsheet and you actually physically feel like you want to throw up, it's actually not a mindset issue. You're having a visceral response in your nervous system. And I love that we're having this conversation because I have seen, and I work with other business consultants that say, you need to work with this person because every time we bring up her spreadsheet, she starts bawling and I just get so angry and we have to end the call. Because you don't have that response. You know, to you, data is very neutral. It's a number. And you are an expert at accounting, taxes, bookkeeping, keeping a team together. Everybody do your processes, do your systems. But then if you're in that position of being a service provider from that personal space, like I am a life coach and I work with entrepreneurs to help them process negative emotions that they've created, negative stories in their mind about money in order to keep them safe. We have these subconscious things that have kept us hostage probably since we were about, I don't know, second or third grade when we were selling Girl Scout cookies.
Wow.
You set out a goal, a financial goal, and it just went wrong. So then your brain starts to make a story. Don't do that again.
Is it personality, nature over nurture? You know, like I can't think of anything that went like really well early on in my life that I was like, I actually wasn't that great in math. And so my family actually makes fun of me that I'm an accountant because I wasn't like excelling in all these math classes. But later in my life, data, and I've heard it be called more that like that masculine energy, really like I really thrive in that place. So is there a nature versus nurture piece to that?
No, I don't think that there is. I think that there actually math is like a language. It's a tool. And I think that it depends on what your formation was as you were learning math as a small person. I didn't know that I had a learning difference, and I just needed someone to show me math visually. And so I didn't do so awesome in the beginning. And we continued to practice. Math is numbers, all the things that it has reason. You put numbers together and they make sense. However, if you've had, let's just say, I had a client that she was learning how to count change back, and her dad thunked her on the head every time she counted the change back wrong. So money became a story in her mind that it was dangerous and scary and that she was dumb at it and she sucked at math. So yeah, that's a nurture sequence there for sure. But it also is something that you can learn. Financial literacy and education is available to all of us. But I do think like what you're doing, Danielle, is you're offering women entrepreneurs who work with a team of women who actually can, like my team that you have associated to me, that you've assigned to me, they are so kind and nurturing and loving to me because money is emotional. I'm an emotional regulation expert, and I still get triggered because I'm human.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Hold on. I don't want to gloss over that. So even as an expert, it is still heavy and difficult for you.
100%, because I have stories, I have skills that I've put into place, my practice that I do, and I'll share a couple of things. It's a grounding thing to get into your body. A lot of times it's just really coming into that place of awareness. That's what we've asked me in the beginning of this is how did we even get here? Well, because I think that there is a thing, it's called goal trauma, which seems really heavy, but it could be goal trouble,
Yeah.
or financial trauma. We could have had a financial circumstance that has happened to us. So we create a story around it in order to keep us safe. I have these 6 different little bugaboos. I have a quiz. And there's these subconscious things that run in our mind that either there's women who are really struggling with over investing, buying coaching programs, investing in a thing and all that, and it doesn't work or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And then we carry this drama and we keep throwing money at it, or under earning and then not saving money. It's like a big dark cloud is that every time they try to save money, then it feels like the rug's been pulled out from underneath them, or no, not even setting income goals. Because I have a lot of people that say, oh yeah, every time I set a goal, I never hit it. So I just don't even set goals. That sucks.
How did you get started in this? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I have a Bachelor of Science degree in human services with a minor in holistic health and wellness education because I was a drug and alcohol addiction counselor and I wanted to bring everybody home. So I understand. I love nurturing people who feel misunderstood. That's my gift, actually. But the reason why I did my minor is because I really wanted to understand habit change better than just a traditional, like I had to do court order DUI agency work. And I loved these people so much, but I felt like there was something missing. And so I did a lot of deep diving into the holistic realm and that whole process there. And then I went into sales. I sold durable medical equipment. I stayed in healthcare all that time. Then my father was killed in a car accident when I was 21. And I noticed that it was pretty tough because I was stuck in grief. And then about 18 months later, my very best friend was also killed in a car accident. So that was all in my 20s. It's still a
How did you
formative
ever get in a
time.
car again?
I know, right? Yes, so I just have a real heart for really for healing and emotional well-being, emotional health. And so it's interesting. Then before COVID, I decided I want to get certified to be a life coach because I want to keep doing that. I didn't want to be in clinic. Didn't really understand how that would work because I really love the coaching model. I love building a future instead of looking for evidence from the past. So at that time, I was a first degree black belt. I was teaching situational awareness, self-defense for non-martial art related students. And that's what I was really good at, body language. So then COVID came, I launched my business. I was coaching women and I would see that they would have a physical response in their body when we would talk about money. So I started to really research the psychology of money, especially the psychology of money for women. And then I started integrating tools that I learned from habit change, emotional regulation, and cognitive behavioral technique. So I use emotional freedom techniques. I teach my clients how to tap so they can calm down their amygdala. And then we can look at the P&L. Before I meet your team, I'm tapping before those calls. So I take responsibility so I don't hijack the call being a weirdo because I'm stressed out.
Well, even if you did, our team is so good at
They are.
Just loving our client. Like, I always say we use bookkeeping as a vehicle to help business owners, but it's so true because the real beauty and the magic is as a business owner, God, like how good does it feel to like know your numbers and be able to use that to manage your business rather than just your gut and intuition,
It feels so good, Danielle, and your team, just by being patient and allowing your team to teach me and to coach me and for me to bump along the way and, hit some really great numbers one year and not so great the next and just not having any drama around it. I'm experimenting with a lot of things. We got 3 kids in college at one point in time together all at once.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, but I did create my own dashboard so that I could really show my clients that expenses are it's money, it's data, it's information. And then we create the processes, especially as entrepreneurs. How many calls do you really need to have? What are your offers? How are you going to hit those goals? And now I have a relationship with my team that we are on track for. They got my back and we did a budget meeting. And so I needed to check in with Amy before I spend anything. And it feels really good because she's got my back. And I want it to be something that feels great because I have some goals at the end of the year that I would really like to just celebrate,
Yeah. Before we dive into strategies on things that business owners can do, I want to stay for a moment on the fact that this isn't your fault. Like every single person listening, it's not your fault. Like you didn't do anything to have this money trauma or this story around money. It's okay, right? Like there is a way forward to heal and to be able to see progress. Anything that you can touch on? And
I love that. Yes, it's true because I think we have to examine our beliefs. What do you really believe? Like right now, you and I can believe that we're business owners. It's very neutral. We could agree in the court of law, you and I have an LLC or whatever your registration is, that yes, you have a business and that's a fact. And so we can both believe that together. And how does that feel in your body when I say that you're a business owner and we know that's the facts? How does that feel to you when you
comfortable.
think about it?
Yeah, that feels comfortable. And to some
I
people
love
that might be scary, right?
Maybe. Yeah, it could be. And it could be official. It could be like, yeah, okay, that's true. I really did that. But I think that's the thing. You just modeled that really well, that the belief and then the thought that we have about it created an emotion. Some people, it's not such a great emotion. It could be real negative, could be scary. Other people, it could be comfortable, it feels great. But what we want to notice is that emotions are feedback. 50% of the time, we're going to have negative emotion. 50% of the time, we're going to have positive emotion. And it's just being a human. Danielle and I were talking earlier that I kind of made like a little uppercut to myself. I didn't really mean to, but she said, that's just because you're human. It's like, you're right. And I love myself just unconditionally anyway, because I am perfectly human being human. I think that's a really great place to start because it shifted our energy right now. I could see your body language and your face lit up and I started to smile and it felt really, that's the emotion when we can really recognize a lot of us don't even know what on earth we're even feeling because a lot of times we don't even know what we're thinking. And that's where all of this starts. And that's like a big ball that starts to roll like a snowball down the hill. So you can really create a bridge of belief to help you be confident and grounded and take responsibility for your money. Like you said, we have a fiscal responsibility to pull up our spreadsheets, our QuickBooks and say, what's the facts, Jack? Let's just get to work here. How many offers do I need to be making? How many people do I need to serve? Who do I need to talk to? How can I help you?
Yeah. I think that's a really great place to transition. Is the first step awareness? Is that the first step? Like, where do we go from here?
It really is. If you're noticing that you're feeling a negative feeling in your body when you're trying to balance your checkbook, I used to feel that way. And I'd get angry at my husband. We'll be married 25 years in February. And I used to get
congratulations.
angry.
That's a long
Thank
time.
It's a long time. Yes. And and he's an engineer. So he has systems and processes in his head that I didn't grow up with. So we got two different money paradigms coming together that we had to really negotiate, some boundaries and rules around things. I like to spend money. I like pretty things. I love to shop. And he's got a strategy. You know, we've got retirement locked and sealed, man. He's like all set up. But that was something that I had to learn. And yes, the awareness to be able to pause and say, you know what? I do not feel good about my money. I don't like to talk about money. In fact, money is taboo because that could be the paradigm that you grew up with. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's what I help people do is I help them unpack their early childhood paradigm, imagining sitting at the table, watching your parents handling and dealing with monies, paying bills and things like that. What downloads in your system, a lot of people were like, there was fighting. There was a lot of drama. Money was really scary and it was unspoken. That was kind of the thing I grew up with. We just didn't even talk about it. We just kind of figured it out somehow. And so I think when you have that stress response that's been downloaded in your nervous system as a little person with well-meaning parents, well-meaning adults, grown-ups, whatever, that wanted to protect you from that, then we create these stories. And then sometimes we create a vow to have this loyalty to never supersede your parents, or there's a battle. Watch this. It's kind of interesting that we have this secret vow, and that's a subconscious bugaboo that's really just trying to keep you safe a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, I can still hear my mom. When I was first started in my career, she would remind me, okay, now don't forget, you don't talk about religion, politics, or money.
Or money.
And I'm like, Mom, I'm an accountant. I think I need to talk about money. She's like, no, I don't think so.
Yes. Ooh, that's so good. And that's why we need you, Danielle, because there is an element of that, like I just used the example of Chris. He gets irritated because I don't see or think about money the way that he does. I feel good talking to you or your team because they're like, yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Have you heard yourself saying, I'm scared to invest money in my business because what if it doesn't come back? I don't know how much to pay myself, so I won't take a paycheck yet. I'm reinvesting in the business anyway. Or how about, I'm not going to spend any more money until I know exactly where my money is going. Well, let me tell you, you are not alone. In fact, we have heard all of these stories and more throughout the last 9 years at Kickstart Accounting Inc. And that is why we have created the Money Mindset Mastery Framework to finally unlock and overcome these stories, to finally feel confident in your financial decisions and pay yourself what you deserve. The first step to create a profitable and successful business is to first understand your money mindset. Find out your money mindset personality type by going to kickstartaccountinginc.com/quiz. I can't wait to hear what your money mindset type is. All right. What are some other action steps that, obviously if somebody wanted to work with you, what would that look like if they were like, this feels so like overwhelming to do on my own? How do they work with somebody like you? And then if they're like, that feels overwhelming, like what's one or two things that they could do on their own so we can help
for
people?
Sure. I know. I love that so much because this is a deep dive. It's a personal development dive, and I really work with entrepreneurs. And so we go into that whole process. There's 4 different modules that we go through. It's something I didn't make up, but we really go through the process of understanding what those stories are that are no longer keeping you safe anymore in your mind. So we work one-on-one, and we go through a guided visualization, a meditation piece that we can come into, just getting your body to calm down. And then we start asking your brain questions about these stories and all the things. And you can actually shift that in the process of a session. And then between sessions, we work with changing how you think and talk about money, your offers, getting out there and shining brightly out in the world with your self-promotion strategies that really light you up. For example, I didn't use any social media in the beginning. I just was organically meeting people and networking. That's what lights me up. So I have a process that I can show you how that works if it feels really good to you. And of course, then there's speaking, writing, and the web. So we work on those things to get you regulated enough so that you can put a strategy together that feels really good for you. But it's a deep dive that every day we work on head trash. So I have a digital worksheet that you just tell me.
I love
what's going on in your head.
That's great.
Yes. And I can help you with the blind spots because a lot of times we don't know, like what you just pointed out. I was like, darn it, I think I was going to cough or sneeze or something. And it was like, gosh, I didn't even realize that it was making an excuse for my humanness. But the point I'm trying to make is a lot of times, again, we just don't know what we're saying or thinking to ourselves. So one of the action steps I would recommend would be, again, to pause and do a 5-minute brain dump. what are you thinking about your money? Let's just say, for example, and you can look at that piece of paper and notice, wow, I have a lot of really negative things to say about that. And then to be curious, that's the second step. Instead of worrying, what if you started to wonder? I wonder what that means for
Oh,
me.
replace wonder with worry. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Isn't that nice? And in our human body, our primitive brain trying to keep up with this crazy modern world, that's what we're doing. We just don't want to get kicked out of the tribe. That's all. It's not safe to be able to question, like what you just said. Now, why on earth would my mom tell me not to talk about money? And I'm an accountant. So it's so interesting. You can just bless her and release her and say, and this is what I'm called to do, and feel really great about it. Wondering if I talk to more women and if I help more women, look how many people you're going to get free, Danielle, from that perspective of like, if I worry about, oh my gosh, what are people going to say? And instead you rejig it with wonder, that opens up so much more freedom for you and other people and the lives that you touch.
That's beautiful. Any other steps in that process?
When you really understand the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, when you are in a fight or flight.
Let's stop there.
Yeah,
What are
for
those?
sure.
Because for most of us business owners,
Yes.
whee! Right over our heads.
When you are in a fight or flight stress response, that's when your brain really does feel like you just touched a hot stove, even though you just looked at a P&L. That's what really, you get lit up like that. That's the sympathetic nervous system. It's doing its job to keep you safe. And it releases a cortisol hormone in your body, just as if we need any more hormones, running in the soup we already have. But that cortisol really does brew in your body from that place of just creating a lot of difficulty being able to make solid decisions, to be able to actually get into action. It feels more like a checklist. And then we start to be mean to ourselves, like this checklist task master. As opposed to when you're in a parasympathetic nervous system, that is when your brain is being able to calm down and regulate. Like I use the EFT tapping, or you can use breath work, or you can just pause for just a minute. You can do a brain dump, like I just taught you to put everything down on paper. Then you're able to come into a place of being able to make solid, better decisions because you're grounded and you're calm in your body and your brain is not calling out a 911. So that's the difference.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Okay.
You're welcome.
And
Yes.
I cut you off there, but I appreciate the detour.
It's not a problem. And how you can know that you might be in a fight or flight stress response, how you might be in a sympathetic nervous system response is if you're not actually feeling your feelings. If you're numbing out, for example, we do these things as humans, over drinking, overeating, over social media-ing, over all the things that are really not balanced and sustainable for you from a perspective of just checking out. Worry is probably another one when you're feeling those feelings. Again, if you can just recognize it as, I wonder why I'm doing this. Wow, I've been on YouTube for an hour and a half. Did I find what I was looking for? Oh, yeah. I was supposed to be looking up something and I'm looking at ducks now.
Yeah. How do you know if you're like drinking to cope with something or drinking for like personal pleasure? Or like, how do you know if you're eating and you just like accidentally ate too much or if you're like really suppressing something today?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I know from the perspective of drug and alcohol addiction and those things that there builds a tolerance over time. And so just monitoring and measuring from the perspective of, I'm sitting here, I'm having a cocktail with my friend because I'm enjoying this, as opposed to just be noticing if you're having 1, 2, 3 glasses of wine at night, just so you can sleep better, just noticing how you feel the next day, do a brain dump and really recognize, am I just trying to suppress these emotions? A lot of times, if you think about it too, I have heard, I don't even know where these statistics come from, that about 90 seconds is about how long it takes for an emotion to go through your body. So I wonder, gosh, worry. This is what worry feels like. Yeah, I would really like to go in the pantry right now and eat the leftover chocolate chips that are in there, or just noticing, feeling in your body what you're actually feeling instead of trying to replace it with something else. It's like a buffering tool, mechanism to help you feel better, when really on the flip side, it just creates even more worry and frustration instead of coming again into that place where you can be more resilience is what we're looking for, to be able to not really come into that battle, that fight or flight that way, but come into another place of being resourceful. That's what I'm trying to say. What would support my body right now? What if I were to take a big, deep breath? What if I decide I'm going to have a glass of wine tonight and just let it be that? And just noticing the pattern.
So if somebody's noticing that they are ignoring their financials, or they're ignoring their money team, they're feeling lots of stress and anxiety around their numbers, their taxes, like what's something that they could do in practice? Like, right? Like we notice it, we're feeling it, like, ugh, I don't want it. Like they're sweet people, but I still, for the love of God, don't want to talk to them.
Yeah,
What do they
I
do?
do. Yeah, for sure. I have clients, we laugh about this because we do have a process. We tap through that from the perspective of, I actually I am hiding from my accountant right now. And just, I think what's helpful is that we've hired these people to help us. And so it's not to drag us through a shame spiral, creating that story around that. I think the first thing, honestly, is just to make a decision. Are you going to decide to be the CEO of your business right now, today, from that place of confidence and say, well, I've got some red flags here I need to clean up? And knowing that your team, you are the experts to be able to put a strategy in place so that everyone can be on the same page. That's where that data systems are in place. When your nervous system is out of whack, that's where you can recognize I probably need to get some support with that.
I've always said, start to associate your numbers with something good.
Oh, I love
So
that.
you tell me what you think about this. Like,
Mhm.
I like, I love this cookie from the coffee shop. And so maybe I take my financial reports to the coffee shop that I love the atmosphere and I get a cookie on that day. And so my brain can start to attach these positive dopamine hits with looking at looking at my numbers at a place that I enjoy, maybe eating something that I enjoy, and it can allow myself the space to actually look at the numbers and be able to reflect on them. What do you think of that
Why
strategy?
not? I love that. That's part of habit stacking. And I think that's really smart. And I think what you've created, yes. And what I would love to do is I share with my clients every Friday, we celebrate and we evaluate. We use the scientific method that you learn in the third grade. So basically, it's creating evidence for your brain that things are working. I just got done talking to a woman that I worked with last year, and she started a YouTube channel. She started with like 16 people. She's blowing it up because this is compounding. She started and she stacked her habits every single day to be able to get the evidence every Friday. She evaluated, here's the formula. What worked? What didn't work? What will I do different? And she followed that every week. And so it's like data is candy for your brain. And so, yes, you can go to the coffee shop and have your cookie, and you can also look at your data and give your brain some candy that's like, actually, what I'm doing is working. And maybe what you do is what's working in this networking group, XYZ. What's not working is, ABC. And what will I be doing differently? I'll be rejigging those thoughts and those feelings and the behaviors of patterns. Who do I need to talk to? And by asking whatever the next steps are, so you get the next result that you want. That way, looking at data from a subjective point of view of like, actually, this is working. This is great. And make sure that you're celebrating that with somebody.
Yeah, if you have a money team, use your money team to celebrate, or if you're working with somebody like yourself, use them to celebrate. I think as business owners, it's really difficult to call your spouse or your best friend or your parent. They don't get it in that same way. So definitely, we hold that space for our clients quite often as like, let's celebrate together. So use your money team, use the people in your corner that want to celebrate with you.
I think that's a good plan. I would actually like to just kind of pause on that for a second, because I can tell you that I started to create a lot of stories about Chris not celebrating with me the way I wanted him to celebrate. He would look at, well, what's your profit then? What's your revenue is different than your profit. I'd be like, wait a minute, bro. I'm celebrating these other things. And so I think that, yes, we also have to train people in a way of, this is how I'd like to celebrate. But I think that you're right, because starting with the comment that I made when we first had the conversation open up was, it takes a lot of courage to be an entrepreneur, and you got to find your business besties to be able to celebrate with you and also help you when you feel like you just want to throw in the towel. Is that happens too. It's our perception, and that's where the healing can happen too. It's like the perception of, you got to really want it from your gut, that being an entrepreneur is not for chumps.
Yeah, it's not absolutely. All right. If somebody wants to learn more about you, possibly work with you, how do they stay in touch?
Yeah, I'd love for them just to go to my website. It's beckyclabaugh.com, and you can take the quiz. I have a quiz that will help you unpack your hidden money agendas and see what kind of bugaboo you might have. And if you're an entrepreneur, every month I host a free speed networking event. We talk about the hidden money agendas, and you can meet a lot of really great people in there. And we're building strong referral networks and referral partnerships. So that's
Awesome. All right, Becky, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Danielle. So good to be here.
But if you enjoyed today's episode, I asked for you to do one thing in return. I would love if you could like and subscribe and share this podcast episode with one other person who can use this information. I am looking forward to our podcast next week. We'll see you there.